go over like really drawing your perimeters and like getting your lines where you need them to be and how you can shift things even after you've completed it. It's pretty easy. Sitefotos is very user friendly. There's a lot of buttons. There's a lot of features on it that you're really not going to use too much. Like you'll probably bet, we talked about when we got on here, you'll venture into the kind of the, not the photo half of it, but Brandon, what were we talking about? I forget.
The form builder.
Yeah, the form builder. So that's going to be more for like your after storm stuff where you can kind of take photos of the stuff that you've done. You can send a link to the client. They can see that everything's been taken care of as needed. If you got someone that needs a little hand holding, kind of, that's kind of a cool feature. But there's some stuff on there that you're really not going to use too much if you're just trying to use the map portion. So let me just share this one real quick. Oh, I got way too many things open. All right, you guys all see that?
Yep.
So we'll start with the basics, right? You get a new site or you get an existing site. And the first thing that we always do, this time of year, it's a little early. I like to do it when the fall cleanup is done. So everything's kind of neat and tidy and the leaves aren't really hiding a lot of the asphalt damage, concrete walkway damage and all that. So these are some recent photos that we did for a takeoff of the new property. And as soon as you take those photos, I can't show it to you because the app is a little bit different than the computer software. So when you grab the photo, it'll ask you what site that you're at. If you don't have it preloaded in there, what you'll do is just pick from the address that comes up. And then there's a little check mark at the bottom. You hit that, and then it goes right back to the camera, which is really kind of nice because there's nothing I hate more than having to go back and forth between getting to the camera, going to the photo gallery. So as soon as you take that photo and you're good with it and you hit that check mark, it just goes right back to the camera for you. You can just carry on your way. And then when you log on to Sitefotos itself, you'll see all of this right here. So these are going to be the photos that you've taken. This probably goes back super far because it's not just one site. It's whatever the most recent ones you've done. You probably go all the way back to when you started using it. I really don't want to do. So this is all the same. 625 Mount Auburn. So to create a map, to take these photos and pinpoint them GPS style to the location that you're working at, it's a little time consuming. I don't know if Mike and his team have fixed this yet, but you just do these little check marks right here. I'll do a small handful. I'm not going to do all of those. There, handful. Someone's got some feedback.
Yeah. Everybody mute your mic. And if you got a question, just hit the hand raise button.
Actually, Steve, I won't be able to see that. So if you see it, if you don't mind, just give me a heads up and I'll answer the question. Thanks, man. All right. So I'll do these couple. And then what you'll do, you can create, where's my little, add to map. So it'll start you off here. You can see if you just click on all these, what it comes up to, what you wrote down in the field for what it is. And you can hide it if you don't want to see them, which is kind of a nice feature. So what I'll do is I'll show you this site, maps, map builder. New map. Yep.
Hey, I think your screen froze, Mike.
Yeah. My internet goes in and out for some reason in this room. Let's see. Let's see here. Open 625 Mount Auburn Street. All right. Did everybody see this?
We still have the photos, Mike.
Let's see here. Go to share screen. Get out of share screen. Do it again. Here we go. All right. You got that?
Yep.
All right. So one of my colleagues already drew this up. This is for a brand new site that we got this year out in Watertown. And these these are the layers that you can kind of choose from. There's pre-made ones in here that you really can't mess with. I think you can change the colors, but you can't really change the name. But you can make as many as you want. Just going down here to the little plus sign, you can choose from any of these colors. I really kind of recommend to guys that start out to stay away from these lighter ones. They don't show up too well on the map. The problem is if you have a big site, which I'll show you guys soon, the brighter colors, there's really not many to choose from that don't kind of look alike. So if you're really trying to like differentiate different areas, you kind of got to pick and choose, all right, I definitely want this to be my road. I definitely want this to be my sidewalks. I'll keep that consistent across all my maps, but your PIV valves, your fire hydrants, maybe your awnings, your loading docks, dumpster corral areas, you can kind of pick and choose what you want for a color with those, but just keep in mind that if you want it to look vibrant to the client so they can see how much time and effort you put into this, stick to these guys, stick to the vibrant ones up here, and you can choose how thick you want your outline to be. I kind of like it to be a little heavy because it zoomed out, it doesn't really look that strong. So I try and stay at a 3.5 fill, keep it to the area. I don't really like coloring my lines too much because I don't really do any linear stuff. You can if you need to get like, what's the distance from here to here. But for the most part, you'll make as many layers as you want. So John just did parking lot, bed space, public walk, and entrance. So this is probably going to be a landscape map as well. But the cool thing is you can kind of, no, get over here. You can get rid of these just by hitting this little eyeball. Now you're back to a naked site. You can see what the actual parcel is based on what the city or the town puts out there for property lines. I usually like to just get rid of these and show the client, this is your asphalt area, your entrance walkways where your vent track or your shovel team, or I'm sorry, your HUMANs with the 36 shovels.
5,000s.
Oh, I died when I heard that on the radio today.
Took me a second. It took me a second.
It's all good. Your bed space, if you're trying to also get your square footage for mulch, it'll tally that up for you, which is kind of a nice feature. So 3,500 square feet for bed space. It'll do the same thing for your parking lots and for pretty much everything else you give it. So this is kind of like your basic small site takeoff. This is not a site where we would probably keep a ton of stuff. If I had to guess, there's really no activity back here. So I would probably make, if they're okay with it, a storage area with a container where your skid goes, if you're going to have a little salt bin. And to kind of show that to the client, I'll go to the layer manager. I'll choose red for this one. Give it the name staging area. Save it so it's automatically down here. You can choose it, change it, whatever you want to do. These are the main tabs that you're going to use. This top polygon right here is where you're going to draw stuff out. So if I go in, let's just say I take these 4 spots. You can choose what layer you want. So I'm going to go with the one that I recently made, staging area. And there you go. It'll show up right there. And if you want to change the size, the shape, you just pull these little guys right here. You can change it to whatever you need to, or fix it or tighten it up, whatever you want. And
Mike, I have a question, Mike, if you don't mind. Is there anything on this program that'll show you gradient, like as far as your grade?
No. Nope. I'm sure that's coming. If you bring it up to Mike, if you ever link up with him, he can probably figure that out and get that added. He loves adding stuff like that for us if it's something that we definitely need in the field. So gradients, it's great. So you kind of know what your slope is. So you can tell your client, like, hey, if we put piles over here, you're going to have runoff in the morning and at night, guaranteed all the time. Whereas if we move it over here, it's just going to go out into the grass area. You'll be much safer. We understand it's probably not in the most visually appealing place that you want, but this is what's going to keep your tenants and your employees the safest. Let us know what you want to do. Pretty simple conversation. A lot of my clients still kind of give me pushback on it because they're more visual than they are smart. So with stuff like that, I'll show you a few sites where we show off where the snow piles are. This one's not exactly done yet, and I haven't personally been here, so I can't really say for sure where I'd want to put stuff. But for now, this is your medium small site, you know, pretty quick and easy takeoff. It's a little time consuming, obviously tracing everything out. You can go and zoom in as much as you want, but at the end of the day, you're going to spend most of your time tracing all this stuff out than you are naming it, choosing a color for it, all that fun stuff. And if you need to, there's the text box button. Why it's not working, I don't know. Come on. Come on.
You're clicking on it. It keeps going up in number. You started like 10 and now it's up to 16 every time you click it. It says text 16.
Yeah, but it should just put a blank text box on. So if you want to like label something with just like some dark lettering, like staging areas, snow piles, diesel cell, you know, that kind of stuff, whatever you want to do. I'll show you snow piles, but like if I want to, I can take this guy right here. Once I hit that circle, let's say there's going to be a snow mountain right here. Just make it as big as you want. I didn't really put one in there for snow piles, so we'll just call it, fuck it, tree ring. I don't care. And you'll see that. You can make as many of those as you want. And when you're done, if you're done, this is the one thing that kind of drives me nuts is zooming in and out. It doesn't let you like kind of feather through it to get that perfect angle. There's the export button up here. It's the first one, PNG. I have no idea what it stands for, but as soon as you smack that, it takes a minute. Download box will come up right here. It'll export all this to you. Now, the one thing I didn't do, which I messed up on, is, so for the tree ring, if you want it to show up on your legend down here, hit this little key. So staging area, same thing, I'll send that stuff right out there for you. Let it download for another second.
So, Mike, while that's downloading, quick question for you on that.
Yep.
Have you had any issues with the resolution of that for landscape beds, stuff like that? And then second of all,
yes.
Okay. Because I've seen that before, depending on if they don't have the best photos or whatever else, you're kind of shooting in the dark as far as true square footage for like mulch and stuff like that. So you'd have to like go and hand measure that and then add that in later.
All right. So great question. So he already has bed space in here, right? So when you tour this property, you probably already know that these islands are mulch. Self-explanatory there. You know that the beds against the building are no grass, all mulch. So you can trace that out. It's probably better, in my opinion, to go a little bit wider so you capture that square footage and you don't short yourself. And as long as you do a very thorough tour of the property, and you can take photos when you're on site of those areas, mark it out in the notes, and then you'll just kind of have that as a little memory flashback when you go to the photos section. So this has some larger mulch beds out back that obviously the trees are covering. So that answers your question. It can't really see through that too well. There are different resolutions that you can use. Google, I kind of like because it's pretty bright and vibrant. Bing is usually a little bit darker. I like this for bigger sites because it takes away a lot of the tree cover on some instances. And the high resolution, I think you actually have to pay for this. Yeah, you do. You got to pay for this. So I don't use that at all. I usually stay on Google because it's nice and bright and I can see everything I need to.
Gotcha. Okay. And then I guess the second question would be pricing. When I went on, we had a GM that had us go through Sitefotos, and I really liked it. It was super intuitive. I've never used it, and we did a site walkthrough in 35 minutes and uploaded all the photos, and it worked out phenomenally on the mobile app. Mm-hmm. But when I went through to try to find pricing, they said for multiple users or one user. So would one company be considered one user? Or if you have multiple.
So this is the hard part with us, right? When we started using this a few years back, we only had one user and everybody's been using that login since. There's not a ton of overlap that's kind of hurt us. So we've never really needed to do it. But say say I'm making some sheets for like after storm stuff and I want it to be specific to my sites. Let's say I only do hospitals. I'm going to have different check boxes that I want for the emergency center, making sure that, you know, the ambulance area is clear. Maybe there's a helicopter pad, making sure the guys get up there and shovel that. If there's any roof walkways for air handlers, condensers, stuff like that. There's going to be different stuff that I want to be specific to my sheets. And if I have my own login, I basically have my own list that I create. So no one else can mess with it. Everybody that uses the app under my username can see it. And that kind of streamlines it for site specific stuff. If you're all kind of on each other's sites doing the same thing and you do like I do a mixture of, you know, medical, multi-use campuses, R&D centers, you know, bio labs, stuff like that. I'm going to use the same form because they all generally have the same stuff to look for. So if you have like 3 or 4 or 5 people that you want to use this and you don't need to like separate too much of what you do and the forms that you want to create, you really can use one login and keep it cheap and simple. But the bigger you get and the more guys you got using it, you know, if you got your sales guys, you know, maybe they're doing more takeoffs for new business, you know, they're going to make their own sheets, their own forms. They want their own list. They don't want to be looking through a million things like we do every day. You know, it'd be nice to have your own login for stuff like that for sure. But if you don't need to pay for it, there's no point.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Because I was going through and I was trying to, we use Jobber and I was trying to implement Sitefotos with Jobber, but it doesn't look like they offer that. They only offer Company Cam. I had never talked to anybody who had used Company Cam other than like Caleb Allman, as far as he's always pushing it. But this, seeing from the desktop version, is incredible. I definitely want to try to use that.
And this is new. This is the new version. This was not as detailed before. This map area that you guys see and all the buttons, that was there before. But everything on the left, there's so much more in there for form builders, creating routes. That's a new thing on there. The services that you do, materials, like the snow bidder is new on here as well. Like they focus a lot on R&D, making this everything that you need it to be based on your feedback, right? So the more you reach out to them, whether you reach out to Mike Lindenbaum, the owner, on LinkedIn, or you just go to the website and you give them some kind of feedback and suggestion, they might go back and forth with you on it because it's something that someone else might have already asked them to do. But they also like to partner with a lot of these softwares as well. So like they do some stuff with LMN, which kind of helps us. But we're going to be switching to Aspire over the winter, and I don't think they pair with Aspire yet. So we might have, you know, 2 separate things going on for a little bit before the transfer kind of happens. But Jobber is probably on their radar, you know, to partner up with so that they can get all that stuff to transfer over.
If you talk to Mike, he will do everything he can to integrate with them. He loves to integrate with other companies.
He does.
As long as the other company is willing to do it. All you got to do is have a simple conversation with him, and he will do whatever he has to do. He wants to make this software the best it can be.
And Anthony, the best thing about the dude, he is not in this to make millions. He told me like maybe last year, he still has not raised his price to companies for 10 years, even with everything that's been happening. He said he's probably going to have to do it on a small margin for the next year, but he wants everybody to be able to afford to use this, from the small guys to the large guys. He wants it to be just across the board. Everybody gets the same features.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. And if you just talk to, he'll spend hours on the phone with you, walk you through this stuff. And, you know, he wants everybody to win. So that he's just a good dude.
He is. He's the Jordan of the Sitefotos world.
Yep.
Oh yeah, there you go. So are your guys signing into this every night that they go out and do snow and
No.
Okay.
No, we really don't do a lot of after storm photos. Our clients are usually 24/7 sites. They always have security there. They're always there early. And if they ever need to, they got cameras that they can pull up to see what's going on. Very, very seldomly do I have to do forms anymore. You know, some of the people that I've worked with in the past, some of the hospitals that I've dealt with, they liked it because it was kind of a second set of eyes if they weren't on site, or just a set of accountability for any slip and falls that happen. But my guys don't use this. And this time of year is when we're really going to use it. You know, your new site takeoffs, maybe you got an old site that you're changing the scope on, they're adding parking, they're reducing parking, you know, half of the building's vacant, taking that whole area away, stuff like that. So it's really me, the sales team, the VP, the owner, and some of the senior level guys that mess around with this quite a bit. And the guys that use this on the ground are usually the operations team that are taking the photos to make the preseason site assessments to mark, all the pictures that you guys saw, the previous damage that was done in the past.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, we're implementing with View, which is one of the Frost solutions. It's one of their kind of competitors for the web cameras there for the weather stations. Yep. And I'm trying to implement those photos, on-site photos after each storm, and the site photos all together so that our clients can see everything. So there's zero question about anything that goes on for that. Because
you talk to Mike, I'm sure he'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah, so that would be awesome. So sweet. Thank you.
I can give you a different point of view because we do use it as an end user side as well. So I mean, we only pay for one login, but I've had this for a couple of years. I mean, it took a long time for the map to change, actually the whole website to change. He had a special login that he'd give to certain people if you'd call Mike, that you could go on and you could build all these maps and change things. And there used to be little animations. You can make little plow trucks go and push to piles to show how to plow the lot. But on the form side of things, I require everyone to do before and after. So the minute the operator gets on site, he goes into forms. We call it snowstorm reports. Every site is set up with a specific email, whether it's going to a client, whether it's going to our dedicated email site for snow pictures, everything. But basically you create that form. And the reason we do this is obviously for like the liability protection. So if you're in the form builder, it will pick up automatic weather conditions and go along with your GPS. So like if the map's GPSed, if there's weather GPSed, it gives you the dew point, it gives you the wind speed, it gives you if it's snowing, if it's raining, if it's sleeting. All of that information goes into your form. And then from that form, we require a minimum 4 photos. So they have to upload 4 photos. So you're talking about, I don't know the company that you just said, but that integrating a different camera system, you can still upload those photos into a form. So the nice part is a guy can get on site, just go on his normal phone, take his photos, he pulls up his form, he fills it all out, then he clicks on the photo button, and then from there he can go upload from device. And from there you can upload anything. So if you have a screenshot of, let's say, this site map, that can be in there, all this stuff. So then when you click submit your form, it will submit this printed out thing that has all of this information into an email or to wherever you want to save it to, or even into there used to be in the reports and things like that you could go to and get all the same information. But we require before, after, or if a new person gets on site. So if there's an area manager that's, checking up on a guy, he sends one every time he hits a site, no matter what. It's just building a timeline for those properties. So it's just the forms are quicker. Or they get quicker. I mean, obviously taking a photo, sometimes the reason we stopped doing just photos, sometimes the GPS doesn't match or it's not there, or they didn't pick up the site, where if I'm doing the form, the site's there and they can't dispute where that picture was taken.
Right. Exactly.
So do your guys sign into, do you guys job cost each site? And so are they signing into multiple apps at once on the same site, or is it just one app?
Oh no, we have a couple different things they're punching into, whether there's a payroll app, we make them do site photos. There's also a client portal app they have to use. I wish it was all in one, but sadly certain clients like specific apps and we have to use what the client wants.
Yeah. And we're kind of in the same boat. Like we work with this company. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it, Corrigo, where they have their own app and it's similar to this, same exact thing almost. And, between using that, the guys using LMN time to punch in and out of sites, which is GPS enabled, it'll, whatever site you're at, it'll come up first. You can just click on it for your check-in times and all that. But with LMN, same thing. I know a lot of these apps it has the before photos, the after photos. It won't give you the weather conditions. So a lot of our guys, if they do photos that we need documentation on, we just tell them to use LMN so that they don't have to check into multiple apps. But, obviously you can kind of streamline it however you want. Yeah,
this is ours. Ours is tied in with True Weather, so we just tap the. But we use it for everything. We track every single repair. My tech guy out at the shop, he has created forms for not just checking in on snow and lawn, down to repair tickets, what's been serviced, logs. I mean, he's just taken this thing and blown it up as as a time tracking thing. But it's pretty interesting. So like the repair tickets get sent to the shop, it goes up on a screen, it flips red. I mean, it's all integrated. It's pretty cool stuff. There's a lot of stuff that the Sitefotos can do that I don't think Mike is, or obviously putting it out there that it can do.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I mean, our mechanic did that same thing. You create like your DOT. He's doing those for all the trucks. They're all, and it's all recorded. He can go through the VINs, the mileage, what was done, what was needed to be done, or an employee can do it as well. Equipment drop off, pickup, pictures. I mean, it's just the forms section is pretty crazy. I mean, the map building is amazing, but I probably play more around with the forms than I do anything on this website.
Yeah. 100%. Next year, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using the forms a lot for landscape stuff, because I have zone management that I use for like who I hit at what frequency for my landscape clients, and some of these assessment apps on there would be a little more helpful than me just snapping photos and writing in my notebook. So this winter, that's my my project, making that streamlined for myself so I can buy myself some more time. But so to get into a little bit more of an intricate site, so this is one of our larger campuses that we do. This is one of my landscape clients as well, so I'm pretty familiar with the site. This map has been tweaked over the years. We probably had this for about 5 years now. And you can see we got all the same stuff. We got some loading docks that are marked out in here. I might just do this. Click, click, click. We'll just get rid of everything. We'll just start fresh, totally naked. And I don't want the parcel. So this is Edgewater Park. First thing the guys will do is they'll mark out usually parking lot space. Where the hell is my parking lot space? Oh, there it is. So this will be where your loaders and your skid steers hang out. If you want to kind of mark out down here, parking lot loader or parking lot skid steer, you can kind of write that in there when you make your new layer. This will kind of give your guys, when you print this off and you export it, this is the area that you do. If you want to split this up so that guys aren't confused and there's no major overlap, you can change the colors so that, this loader can stay in this area. This loader can stay in this area if you got multiple pieces of equipment on site. We only have one loader here, so between the skids helping him with the tight stuff, he kind of goes through this whole place on his own. We don't need to differentiate for him. Drive lanes we'll do separate as well so that we can show the client where the truck is kind of going to live. This is going to be basically your emergency routes, right? So like any police, fire, ambulances that need to get through, we mark this in red to showcase like these are the most important areas to break open outside of your parking lots, making sure during a blizzard, this stuff is kind of open at all times so that anybody can get in here if they need to. And just like everything else, if you need to make it wider, all the little clicks that you do to kind of mark this out, you can take and shift these guys and make them a little skinnier or wider if you need to, which is always a nice feature because these things are never accurate. There's always, because the tree cover and the plant cover, there's little areas that you're probably going to miss. So being able to play with it is definitely a nice feature. We'll add in your walkways. I'll remove the parking and the drive lane to kind of show how much walkway space there actually is. So we only have an SSV and I believe a 4520 at this site. So what we would probably do for walkway crews and shovel crews as well is we would just export this half to them so that if they're unfamiliar with the site, they see this is what you're kind of responsible for. They won't have to worry about anything else kind of clouding these areas, because as soon as you add your drive and your parking, some of that stuff kind of gets blurred out a little bit. So just to make sure the guys don't miss anything, I like to be able to mark some of this as like absent almost, so they can only see what they need to work on. I'll add this stuff in.
Mike, is there a way, you got all the walkways and stuff in orange there that you're going to send to your sidewalk guys? Is there a way on that program to draw that map with priority?
Yeah, you can do that with color. Yep,
okay.
You can do that with color and with notes to make it easy.
So you can make a map of the walkways just for your sidewalk guys and actually have each section a walkway in a priority color.
Yep, exactly. So
Cool.
if I got some perimeter walkways like around the loop road that don't necessarily need to be done during a storm, they can be done, after, or maybe 24 hours after. We'll just use a different color and we'll just write down in the layer secondary walk, 24 hours after event.
Gotcha. Cool.
Let me see. Let me add these guys back in there. Parking garages. We got some of those over here. So this will show there's 2 skid steers that kind of bounce back and forth between these garages. So, one guy's dedicated here, another guy's dedicated here. They can bounce back and forth pretty quick. And usually this guy, because this garage is kind of empty, no one really parks up here, he kind of breaks off from time to time and hits this little guy down here. So getting rid of some of this stuff and just having like the parking garages for the skid steer guys, you can kind of just separate it that way for them too. I don't want to beat a dead horse with this, but snow piles. This is what we kind of have marked out for snow piles. We leave it white just as a general thing for the guys. Like, hey, this is where you can store everything. You can kind of take them and shift them as you need to. So it's not really a permanent setting. You don't have to like get rid of it and redo it. You can move it to wherever you want, make it as big or as small as you want. And this is all the stuff that your clients are going to see during your takeoff. So I'll zoom out on this. I'll show you how to send a URL so that your client can open it and see basically this entire map. Open up the charging stations, open up the text boxes. Problem is you have to zoom out until you can see the whole thing. So it looks tiny. PDF extents. Let that load. Pop-up blocked. Why was that blocked? Always allow it. Sitefotos. It's safe. There we go. Oh, never mind. This is so you can print it. One of these guys you can take. Oh, share. Duh. So right on here, you can end your client. You can do multiple clients on here if you want. Send this to them. They won't be able to play with it. They're just going to see your legend down here of what you've marked out and the layout of the site and how you guys have kind of delineated the areas a little bit. And if you need to, when you open this up, you can kind of create it and you can zoom in and out of it because this is way too tight for me. This would drive me nuts. So if I was going to send this to a client, I would just grab it, copy it, and let me just change my screen here real quick because you guys can't see this. Where is it? Change screen. Where is it? It's not bringing up my email. Can you guys see my blank email?
Nope.
Fuck me.
Still on the map screen.
This just shows you how tech savvy I am when it comes to this shit.
It's all good. It's probably the webinar program.
There you go. Got it?
Yep.
So we give a little gap down here. You can give it a paste. You can shift it however you need to. You can zoom in on it for your email that you're going to send to your client. And hopefully they'll be able to see this pretty well because usually when we do this, we're doing it on a big screen so they can bring it up pretty nice. Everybody can kind of see what's going on. But that's one way you can ship it off to a client. I don't usually like doing it for a site like this because the client can't zoom in on it. No. So
Can you send them the different visuals of it like you do to your employees? Like this is the map just for the sidewalks. This is the map of just your lots.
So like separating it like I did with the eyeball over here?
Correct.
Nope.
No. Okay.
What you send them is what you have like clicked on the eyeball. So if you have everything open, they're going to get everything. If you don't want them to see certain things, you can just kind of nix it out. And when you send them this is all they're going to see. So let me just make sure I got everything back in here. Loading docs. Yep. All right. Couple detail things that I did on this site recently. They installed some charging stations. So we have the handicap areas marked out, which our guys, when they do their snow training with us, we tell them handicap spaces are your main priority. You know, during events, make sure they're open because it's just ADA law at this point. We have a lot of charging stations here that got added in recently. So kind of secondary. Well, I added one in there for some reason. It's covered over, but yeah, car charging station. So you can add and subtract that stuff in there, your specialty one-off little things that you find. Over here, I actually have this year, they're going to have this open. This is a vegetable garden. There's a company that comes in here and maintains it. So I just got to figure out what the frequency is going to be before I make a layer for it. But, you know, being able to mark this out, marking the beehive right next to it, and then marking the other beehive that they have down here for the pollinator gardens that we put in, you know, you can mark that so that if they need to get in there to access them, to feed them for the winter, change the saltwater solution, whatever, you can kind of mark that out in there to show the guys, hey, make sure you do a pathway here for the beekeepers. If you, like I said, do any air handlers or any walkways up on the roof, you know, you can make lines up here if you want. So if I want to do something really quick, like say this is just your pathway to get to these air handlers, I'll hit the finish button right here. Hey, there's your little animated guy. So you can kind of mark out pathways like this if you're just going to do like a shovel width for something special. I usually only do this for rooftops or for parking decks, but you can play around with that if you need to. And for a big site staging area for us, we didn't really mark it out, but it's always kind of over here in the back 40. No one comes back here. So we've got one of our brine tanks. We've got our bins that we have been using for the landscape season. So we got to empty them out. These are not super recent photos. These are probably like maybe a year, maybe 2 years old. I'm not sure how often they refresh, but you know, that they're accurate for the most part. So this is where a lot of our storage is going to be. Loaders, skid steers, everything's going to be over in this corner. We don't mark it out because it's really, the guys know where to go. There's nothing new, and the client doesn't really care if it's labeled or not. So if they don't ask for it, we don't add it in there. And that is really the gist of it. You know, like I said, when you do a new site takeoff, you're going to spend most of your time just playing with all of these lines, just tracing everything out little by little by little. So this is, if you got somebody in the office that, you know, catches up on their work pretty quick and doesn't really have anything in the field to do, you know, they can kind of make these maps and just sit here for the day and maybe do 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on how big they are. They can kind of do all the tedious work, and the guys out in the field can do the pictures, and then the person in the office can input those photos like I showed you guys how to do, and you can kind of keep those in there. You can hide them if you want to. We don't have any photos in here because we haven't done the site assessment yet for the season for previous damage. But, you know, if your guys out in the field aren't going to have time to make these maps, if you got somebody in the office that can do it, or if you ever have an extra hour or two, you can do it yourself. It's the most time consuming portion of this, to be honest. And that is really it. Does anybody have any specific questions?
Steve, is this something that we can get the recording of to share with our teams that do this for us?
It is recording.
Can you send me a copy of it so I can let my office manager and Frank and Anthony take a look at this? So because they're the ones that are doing. Anthony's in charge of my technology, and he couldn't be on tonight.
I can sure as hell try. if I can figure it out. Your guess is as good as mine if I can make it happen.
Appreciate it, brother.
Let's see if I can do it. No, I think it's specific to you.
Let me try.
I came on late here, so I'm just wondering what was the name of this program here?
Sitefotos.
Sitefotos? Okay. Okay, yeah, we do a similar thing, but we're using a landscape design program. Same kind of shit, color code, everything. But
What
if
is
you
it?
can all integrated in one, that makes it a lot easier.
What's the program?
Just real-time landscape.
Oh, okay.
Super
All right, I've
simple,
heard of that.
cheap. We use that for all our landscape designs throughout the year.
So Sitefotos is really great for snow stuff because you can get really down to detail specific with it. There is a software that our sales team uses that is pretty eerily similar to this, and it's called Attentive. It'll mark everything out for you based on what it sees on the satellite. So you don't have to do any perimeter markings at all. It'll do all that for you and give you the square footage of it. So for the landscape season, yeah, absolutely, it's fantastic. Or if you're just doing a like an Amazon type facility where it's just miles of flat asphalt with no islands and nothing in sight for you to hit, yeah, that's great. So you can price it per acre, for your snow contracts. But for site specific stuff where you got to mark everything out pretty detailed for your guys and for your client, Sitefotos is really the most detailed I've seen so far.
Yeah, so basically
I'm sure
our
there's
maps
some
look the
things out
same.
there,
It's
too.
just not all built in one.
Yeah.
So if it's all built in one, that could be a lot easier. I'll have to look into it. We were just looking into using Yeti this year, but this might be another option for us.
Definitely.
Well, and if you click on like live map, it actually shows you all of your accounts and if you've had activity. So if you make a guy send in a photo or send in reports, it'll actually tell you if it's been done in the last amount of time.
Nobody's done shit.
You can change you can change the filter to add snow, and it will tell you how much snow you had in the last X amount of time. You can there's different layers on there that you can add and things like that. But there's just a lot of cool features within the website side of it versus like the mobile app. But the mobile app's it's like basic. It's just a basic picture form app.
Yeah.
Pretty easy for you can teach anyone to use it. Even Steve could figure it out.
I don't know. I still listen. I laugh all you want. I have Sitefotos. Cannot figure out how to get to this screen right here.
But this up
Won't
here?
let me get there. Won't let me get there.
Well, it's showing you where the button is now.
It doesn't matter. When I pull that up on my computer, won't happen. Oh, somebody's working. You got activity at 2 sites.
No, that looks like that's me. That was there's Edgewater and there's Mount Auburn.
Oh,
So
okay.
just me.
There, you can bill them for that, right? The time you just spent on it.
Yeah, I could probably send the office a bill.
It also integrates with like you talked about different software. Obviously, Jobber and stuff isn't on there yet. But if you have equipment tracking, if you go to the API integration, you can actually look what is paired with Sitefotos and integrate all like GPS tracking with your vehicles. And once all that stuff gets going, you can see them on the map as well, and it gets pretty crazy.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to look more in depth on that because I want to get more techie with all of our shit this year. Just
more techie.
Try to streamline it a little bit.
Hey, the more techie we get, the harder it's going to be for nationals to compete with us. I know we keep talking about it, but it's really true. The more down to the penny we can be with pricing per acre, these guys won't be able to argue with what we bring to them.
What's up, Kelly?
Yeah. So that's fucking really it, guys. Maps.
Everything
Not
in one place.
familiar. Let me see if I can find another crazy one. Oh, Liberty's usually a good one. When was this one done last?
Mike, can you show us the snow bidder if it's easy enough for you to actually get in there? If you can't, that's totally fine. But I
I'm
saw
in
that
it.
as an option. I wasn't sure what that actually meant.
So you go through the new estimate, and then you can pick your site. And then since you've already mapped it out, it gives you, it's based off the square footage. So you just put in your pricing. So if you have your hourly pricing figured out, you go through and you build your platform, and this is how much a truck is, this is how much my skid, whatever you're doing, and then it will auto generate based off the square footage, and then you can change the snow amounts to help change what your market look like and
that's
things
nice.
like that. I don't know. I just fucked around with it for a while because it's new.
I haven't fucked around with this at all. This is kind of
What'd
cool.
you type in? $65 an hour per skid?
You know it.
Fucking Minnesota.
Huh.
Truck
Yeah, I'll have to mess around with this. Seems kind of cool.
Price high.
Do you
Hey,
have
Eddie-
any? Sorry. Do you have any maps where you're using like text boxes and put in like labels or things for guys?
Let me see here.
Like we use Yeti currently.
Mm-hmm.
It has mapping and sitemaps built in. It's decent. You have to hand draw all the layers and it's not the best, but we were looking to use Sitefotos to just build maps, save the maps as PDFs, and then upload them to the Yeti account for each site. But we like to put some directions in the site just with text boxes. But a lot of them have.
So here you go, right here. I had a feeling the hospital had it. So, your cancer center lot, medical building lot, your ER lot, these are the kind of labels that you can make. It's not going to be like a square text box kind of thing. Let me just get rid of the photos here. Get rid of the photos, the loader, the walks. You can kind of do this on the fly. So here's your text box down here. Add in whatever you want. Fucking building. And what text size you want. If you need it to be really fucking big. And background. Yeah, sure. Why not give it a background? Then you can play with it, toss it wherever you want to, and then fucking delete it if you don't need it.
Yeah, that's essential. I was looking for a lot of the programs, the text box automatically puts the background in, and you can't get rid of it. And then you have this big.
This one starts out naked, so that
you can't see.
So they're expecting you to do this on top of a layer, so that's probably why they don't do the box, just so it can have an accent already that you choose.
What were all those pins that popped up with numbers?
So those are the site
the
assessment
photos.
photos that you do for the season. So that's your damages, what you're doing before the season. That's really the only thing that we use the photos for, is just to show, hey, this was fucked up before we got here. You can't ding us for this in the spring.
You're not to get off this, but your computer froze earlier when you were showing how to link those to like specific sites by GPS.
Oh yeah, I can do that again.
Can you just show us how that worked again?
100%. So photos. Touch a few of these guys. You can all see that, right? No, go away.
The picture, yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna hit that fucker in the exact spot. Add to map. Now, did it freeze and go away?
Nope,
Froze
still
again.
all the photos.
Okay, so I think it's because it moved to a different screen. So let me change screen to map builder. You can see that?
Nope. Oh, yep.
So that's all it did. It just took these photos to where you were standing, and it just put it right there for you. And you can shift these around too. If they're not exactly where they're supposed to be, you can move it around. It's not, cement.
So
So you're
can
taking
you
through the app.
do this later? Like
You can do whatever you want.
remembering where you took that picture somewhere on the back end, and then when you upload it, it remembers that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a GPS mark where you take it. It puts a pin in it.
All right, awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely looking into this one.
Let me try this, because I want to be able to. We don't change the maps every year, so if we have a place for a few years, the map stays the same, but the pictures. Let's just say something gets damaged that we didn't cause. A tractor trailer hits an island, clips a light pole, takes out a landscape space, whatever, and we just want to mark it. I want to see if we can add it to an existing thing. So if I wanted to do, well, I guess you'd kind of have to be there to do it. So if I was going to go to Lowell General, the hospital I showed you guys, and I wanted to mark out some new stuff, I would probably, just going through my head, I would have to mark it out with these check boxes and add to map. Yeah. All right. So I guess if you wanted to add some new photos, you would just take them, hit add to map, and it would just put it to the site that they was already tied to when you do the photos. So I guess I just answered my own question, which is nice, because I don't like redoing these maps if I don't have to.
Yeah, the only problem we've had is sometimes the GPS signal is off, and it puts us like down the street a little bit. Like, 'cause we have a couple sites right next to each other, and we'd be in one lot, and it's telling us we're in the other lot.
So I've had that happen, but it still brings me to the lot that I want them to be in.
Okay.
I do see what you're saying though. So like the address that you want doesn't necessarily come up, but the photos still go right where I want them to. So
Okay.
I guess I haven't really run into a problem where they've shown up on somebody else's lot yet.
Well, no, it'll actually, like, not when we're taking photos, but when we're logging in, because my guys log in when they get to a site, they have to take a couple pictures before.
Yeah.
And when you have weak cell service, like if there's just not a good cell service in that area, it might keep us in the lot next door where we were just at.
Yeah.
It's the only downfall of site photos, and it's not their fault. It's the cell service's fault.
Right. No, I agree 100%. No, I don't want high resolution.
Mike, have you had problems with site photos crashing, either the
No.
app or the desktop? No, because that's one common thing we guys now that site photos, they haven't updated it in a while, and it crashes from time to time.
Maybe it's a cell service thing. I can't
Okay.
really speak. Are they talking about the website or the phone?
Both actually. We're
Okay.
talking about both.
I have had a few instances where cell service in some of the woodier areas hasn't been great, and it takes a minute to load where you are or load photos into your queue, but I've never had an issue with the web.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that they haven't. I'm just saying I haven't run into it yet.
Good enough.
We have not had that issue either.
I've had the app drop off, and then you just reopen it and it logs back in. You're just like a typical freeze, but
Right.
that could be from uploading 25 photos on a report too. One thing, if you're doing the forms too, is that if you're making your operators do them, make sure they leave the phone open for a few seconds after they click submit, just because it's taking all those photos or whatever that information is, and it's sending out. And if they click submit and shut their phone off, it sits in like a queue, and it won't send it until they reopen the app the next time, which could be the next morning, it could be the next day. So if you're going for like the time stamping and all that information, just make sure they wait for the little cloud to disappear when they're sending them.
Right.
And I went back 2 years and did the map upload for the photo, and it worked. It put it right back where the photo was taken.
All right. Let's see here. Anybody else have any questions before I close that out?
No, I think I'm good.
Sweet. All right. Honestly, it's one of my favorite like apps and computer network things to use. It's so user friendly. I can put anybody brand new in front of it and train them probably in like an hour, and they're off to the races. And usually when I do, it's make me a map, please, because I don't want to do it. Something like that. That's a good way to get your feet wet, is just to make all the outlines of what you need done and give them a list of what you want the layers to be. And then if you need them to go out in the field and take photos, you can take them with you. But usually, you know what you're looking for with previous damages and stuff like that. So instead of letting somebody new or someone inexperienced go out there and miss something that's going to cost you money in the spring, sometimes it's better to just, if you want it done right, do it yourself.
Absolutely. Any other questions about anything with Mike?
So Mike, when you're doing your pre-site photos and you just have the guys taking the photos, that's it. They're not doing like in the specific form setting.
Nope. They're just grabbing the photos, tagging it to the site, and then whoever's putting the map together, they'll see it right on the queue where those photos are, and then they'll just add it to the map.
Okay. Yeah, we do it. So we use the form part because then it's an email with all the photos. So if I'm on site and there's 20 things that are popping up, you can add the comments right there and take the photo, and then it's one email versus, because just scrolling through the photos, if you have 50 sites and you're scrolling through all your photos, it takes quite a bit of time. It lags quite a bit when you're scrolling
it definitely
on
does.
the photo section.
So I might actually call you about that, because that's something that we haven't really explored yet. And with the amount of sites that we use this for, that if that streamlines things a little bit, I would definitely love to make a form for that.
so much faster in terms of just like, here's the finished result. Now it's an email, right? So it's a PDF. So your pictures aren't like super great, but then, you know, you can go back to the website and find if you ever needed to dig into what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like a quick snippet, you know, and it builds it out for how many things you add on to it. And it's way easier and cleaner to find if you have a specific spot for the email to go.
And then do you send that form right to your client?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And then, cause there's little notes. So it's say, hey, this, you know, sometimes you can tell if it was, you know, a recent concrete repair that, you know, they're going to try to say was you, and the crack was there, and the last guy put it down back in place, and all that stuff. So just little comments that you can add right below all the photos. Or
Now, do you do that every year?
Yeah.
Okay. So we only do it for new site takeoffs. We don't do this. We don't send this to the clients every single year unless they specifically ask for it. So usually it's just one and done. And if there's something new, the guys just add it in there, and we don't really tell the client unless it's something that we know they're going to call us out on.
Yeah. No. Yeah. We have to do them every single year.
Yeah. Like,
just because, you know, they don't always repair the damage. So it's like they're going, hey, no, this curb's been destroyed for 10 years.
They never repair the damage. No. We've had the same guy try the same spot on the same site 3 years in a row. Like, oh, you guys damaged it. No, we didn't. Here's the picture from 2 years ago. Here's the picture from last year. Here's the picture from last week.
Mm-hmm.
We take them every year too, because we have a place where tractor trailers hit the signs.
Yep.
And the post, and they're always, you know, saying, oh, that post. Yeah, but, you know, that happened over the summertime. We have a picture this year. We have a picture, you know, from last year. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or they're just waiting for it to get worse. They're waiting for you to hit it when it's already at its worst point. And they're like, oh, all right, I guess I know who's paying for it now.
Anybody got anything else? Doesn't even have to be about the site photos. Anybody got anything for Mike or Brandon, or got a bunch of big guns in the room? Jeremy?